Let's start by looking at the 7 phases of waste. We call this TimWood. It all starts with waste. While companies often seek out incremental improvements in their value-added steps, far greater savings can be found by looking first at the waste in your processes, waste being anything customers don't value. TimWood stands for transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overprocessing, overproduction, and defects. Let's start by looking at transportation. Transportation waste typically stems from the layout of a facility, but it can also result from poor flow between process steps. Lean Six Sigma eliminates transportation waste through the redesign of processes and streamlining workflow. Inventory can be a mismatch throughout the supply chain, often resulting in imbalanced demand and supply. The mismatch stems from poor understanding of the customer's needs or poor forecasting. A good example of this is in a hospital setting or in an outpatient setting where we set our par levels for our linen too high or too low. Understanding the variability of linen usage versus the patient use will help you better manage your inventory, because if you have linen sitting on your supply cart that isn't being used, then it is considered waste because the excess inventory costs money. Motion waste is inefficient movement of people. If you follow a worker day to day, then you'll likely trace a different path each time, filled with wild goose chases, strange body positions, and poor posture. If you are taking extra steps to go get supplies, start thinking about ways you could reduce steps and therefore eliminate motion waste. Waiting waste is any downtime that products or people spend waiting for material, information, or people. An example of this might be that you have a customer waiting for equipment. The steps you would need to take to eliminate this waste is by planning the process so that the equipment is there by the time the customer needs it. Do you ever find yourself repeating a task or process that someone else has already done? Then you are over-processing, and this is another form of waste and a non-value added for the customer. Overproduction is producing items earlier or in greater quantities than needed by the customer. Producing earlier or more than is needed generates other waste such as overstaffing and storage and transportation cost. Defect waste is any process, product, or service error. The worst kind of defects are those that reach the customer. This form of waste can cost money by increasing resources needed to correct the defect, so it's always better to try to prevent the defect before it even happens. So now it's time for you to go find your own waste in your own area. You can use tools like these under the Performance Improvement Department on Income. Now let's get started and go find some waste.